You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Young and the Restless fans, we have got Claire Newman heartbroken this week when Kyle Abbott finally spills the secret he's been keeping. But Claire's anguish over what he did leads Kyle to a strange conclusion. He thinks proposing marriage is what he needs to do now. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to talk about Claire's reaction when Kyle proposes. He just told his parents it's the best thing to do, but a Claire and Kyle wedding could be absolutely disastrous. And hey, if you're not following us, please hit that subscribe button. So this week, if you've not seen it yet, Claire again asked Kyle, please tell me if there's anything at all you've not revealed about that time in France with Audra. So we know Claire is quite happy that Nate dumped Audra, but she's still suspicious of her own boyfriend. To his credit, Kyle rolls the dice. He takes a risk and he decides to be honest, but like 88% honest, not 100%. He's going to tell Claire, yes, okay, he kissed Audra while trying to expose her scheme. And even worse, Kyle reveals the kiss happened in his sleeping car on the train. They were alone there. But what he doesn't tell Claire is that he was only dressed in a towel and he climbed on top of Audra in the bed and they were playing a serious game of tonsil hockey before it stopped. Kyle makes it sound way more innocent than it was, but it was at least somewhat the truth. Even with the rated PG version that he told her, Claire was horrified and heartbroken that Kyle kissed Audra and then lied to her. So Claire tells Kyle Audra was actually more honest with her than he was because Audra did tell Claire they kissed in France and he was denying it. The core issue is Jordan Howard, Claire's crazy great aunt, lied to Claire her entire life and she gaslit and misled her. So honesty is super important to Claire, and now she's completely beside herself. It's not so much that Kyle kissed Audra, it was the lying. And Kyle's excuse was Claire had just lost her dad, Cole, so Kyle didn't know how to tell the truth about the kiss without making Claire's grief worse. Plus, Kyle was afraid of hurting and disappointing her. So when Kyle finally comes clean and he's begging Claire to tell him things are okay, she's not okay. And she walks out on Kyle. And then later, Claire tells her mom, Victoria, and her grandma, Nikki, about Kyle kissing Audra in France. And they think Kyle made a huge mistake, but they also think he truly loves Claire. And of course, Victoria says it's totally up to Claire to decide if she should forgive Kyle. It's not up to them. But her mom and grandma also know that he was the subject of a wicked plot that was cooked up by Victor and Audra. So he was being targeted. He was being put in very bad positions. But bottom line, Claire needs time. She's not going to forgive him at the moment. Luckily for Kyle, we're going to see that Claire has not written Kyle off completely. So in time, I do think Claire could forgive him. But I don't know if he can be patient because meanwhile, Kyle's telling his parents, Jack and Diane, that he came clean. He told Claire the truth, but he might have blown up their relationship. And it sounds like Kyle does not want to give Claire time to think about it for too long. Kyle wants to make a grand gesture to win her back to prove his love. So he tells his parents the only way to prove himself to Claire is to ask her to marry him. Kyle wants to show Claire just how committed he is to her. So could be late this week, probably into next week. I expect we're going to get Kyle proposing to Claire. I'm sure she's not going to see it coming. And as hurt as Claire is, if Kyle's proposal is very heartfelt, and we do know that little Harrison Locke is back soon, Harrison Abbott. So Kyle might involve the kid in the proposal, and that might convince Claire that his love is indeed real. Of course, Victor will lose his mind if Kyle proposes and Claire says yes. And as with any soap opera wedding, there's always the chance that a wedding would go wildly off the rails. And I think that's especially true in the case of Claire and Kyle. I suspect Claire and Kyle's big day would end in chaos, potentially. And here's what we could see that would blow up this potential wedding. Obviously, Victor will not be happy about any new Newman and Abbott wedding, even though he gave Claire and Kyle his blessing. First of all, he was lying. And second of all, that does not imply to any engagement. So Victor was still hoping that Kyle would lose Claire and that it would fall apart before it got more serious. And Jack was just pressuring Victor this week to tear up that contract, but he said no, and that's a red flag. If you remember, Kyle signed a document saying he would leave town and pay Victor $5 million if he broke Claire's heart. So Victor could whip that contract out at the speak now or forever hold your peace part of the wedding and blather on about Kyle betraying Claire with Audra, just make a whole big scene. And Victor might say, pay up, pack your bags, buddy, forget it, you're not marrying my granddaughter. Next, of course, there's Audra, who absolutely could and would sabotage Kyle and Claire's wedding. Audra hates Kyle, and now she also hates Claire, and she blames her for the breakup with Nate, even though, let's be real, Audra did that all on her own. But I think ruining Kyle and Claire's big day would give Audra a lot of pleasure. No way will she stand by while Kyle gets his happily ever after with the woman he loves now that Audra has lost everything. Now, I also think Holden could show up and intervene. I mean, heck, Audra might even provoke Holden to interrupt. She might get in his head about Claire. If Audra realizes how smitten Holden is with Claire, she might tell him he's got to stop the wedding or he'll miss his chance. You know, Audra could tell Holden that breaking up the wedding would save Claire from Kyle because he's a cheater and is just going to hurt her again. Plus, Holden really likes Claire, so he might stop the wedding or try to. And we have to mention also, Claire herself might have second thoughts. You know, Kyle's lie about the kiss might eat at her, and as much as Claire loves him, she may not be able to trust Kyle again. So Claire might interrupt her own wedding and say, I'm sorry, I can't do this, and do the runaway bride thing. And the last thing, Kane could interrupt the wedding because Victor is blackmailing him to ruin their big day. Right now, Victor has documents that shows that Kane's initial money that seeded Arabesque came from Colin's last con, where he talked the lady who owned the chateau into leaving everything in the will. So Victor may tell Kane he's got to find some way to blow up Claire and Kyle's wedding, or he'll reveal the dirty info he's got. So we'll see if Claire says yes when Kyle proposes, and then even if Claire says yes, there's so many ways their nuptials could go off the rails. I just don't see her getting married to Kyle going off without a hitch, and my top candidates for wedding disruption are Audra and Victor.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.